Hello everyone, Tech1421 here. Welcome back to another episode of Pokemon TCG Online Tournament. We are continuing along with our Gengar Greninja deck. If you want to check out the deck breakdown as well as round 1 of the tournament, you can check out part number 1 of this little, I guess, part or session of this episode. And we are continuing along here, and we see a Genesect coin just rapidly spinning, and looks like we won the toss. Tails failed for them that time. I always go heads just because I like the artwork on the particular card. But we see here, we get 2 Ghastly and 2 Gengar, or no, two Haunter, and no supporter. We do go first. What I like to do when I go first is I like to kind of disguise my hand and not put down any other Pokemon. We can use the Professor's Letter here to get ourselves 2 energy. I don't know why I got 1. I was thinking maybe I'll Shaman this turn, but then when I really thought about it, it might actually be better to Shaman the following turn because we'll have 2 less cards in our hand. We'll also be drawing a card in between, just from the start of the round or start of the turn. We'll draw a card, but I feel like the best thing to do here is just to kind of wait and evolve, double evolve, as long as they don't play an N or something like that, and then then we can Shaman and kind of go from there. What we could have also done is we could have got the 2 energy and then retreated and then used the Super Rod to get even more Pokemon or more draw potential from the Shaman, but we didn't do any of that. So yeah, we see my opponent plays a Keldeo EX. They also get a Tangrowth from their deck with the Heavy Ball. Heavy Ball is rotated back into the standard format, but it can also be used in expanded, just the old one. But it is now in standard. We're going to see ourselves play the Haunter. I am going to choose to confuse both Pokemon because we're not going to attack with Haunter anytime soon. And we'll probably end up using... when we evolve, you lose your special conditions. So we can also try to bait the Keldeo into the active, and we might be able to get going pretty soon here. I'm going to go ahead and play the Trainer's Mail. We get another Battle Compressor into play, and now I can start discarding things left and right. And I'm probably going to discard an N so that we can draw an N with a Versus Seeker. And I don't want... This took me a while to try to figure out exactly when I wanted to discard. I'm kind of in a tricky situation here. We want to get the Greninja in the discard pile, of course, but the question is, do I not discard the Archie's Ace in the Hole and instead get a Juniper? And therefore I can discard the Archie's in my hand. But then I'm thinking, well, I don't want to really discard another Versus Seeker because it's going to be a little bit difficult to get the Archies into play. So I decide to put down the Deoxys and then just go ahead and Versus Seeker for the N. So we're going to get the N into our hand, and then we're going to N our opponent and myself. They don't have Tangrowth in their hand now, which is kind of cool. We see yet again another Haunter. We only run 3 in the deck, and we see all of them either in play or in our hand. So I'm going to attach the Suck Energy. For whatever reason, if my opponent chooses to attack and gets confused, that might be kind of cool. I'm going to Battle Compressor, get the Battle Compressor from the Acrobike here. And then I will get another Greninja in the discard pile. I don't know if there's another one in my deck. It might be prized. But we're probably going to discard the Lysandre. I like to get that in the discard pile. And there's the other Greninja. We might only go with those 2. And we do. And then we can Acrobike something else. And we get a Dowsing Machine, which is great. And then, so next turn, potentially, we can get a... Archie's Ace in the Hole into play, which would be very, very good. We have the Gengar in hand. We can't really do anything with the Haunter. We can't do anything with the Dimensional Valley unless my opponent plays another Stadium. So there's not very many things in the deck that I can draw that I can't necessarily play immediately, or some kind of potential of like a discard or something, something like that. So I'm feeling pretty good at this point. I'm pretty much guaranteed to get a Greninja into play next turn and start really going here, and which would be nice. Turn, I believe, 3 into the game, which is what you can really is the best you can really ask for. I didn't mention this in the deck breakdown, but the reason I don't play the rare candy in this deck for Gengar is, one, I feel like it's a little bit harder to get into play. Yes, it might be faster if you draw the necessary cards, but I just feel like it's better to have go this particular route. We see here that I draw another Dimensional Valley, which I'm I'm really disappointed about, because now I have 3 dead cards in my hand and I can't do anything. So I run the question, do I just attack, or do I try to get like an N or a Juniper or something like that? But I don't really want to discard both of my Dimensional Valleys, because then I run into the risk of, well, now I need to attach 2 energy to my Gengar, and I only run 8 in the deck, and 2 are on the board. And I think 1 might be prized, and then another 1 might be discarded. So what do I do? And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I will YOLO and get an Aggro Bike or something, or maybe I'll get a Virtus Seeker, or I don't even know. It's kind of a weird position to be put in at this point. But I'm going to go the Juniper route, and I'm not very happy about this, but I do it anyways. So now the one-dimensional Valley, hopefully my opponent does not have a Stadium card, other than Dimensional Valley, of course, or that they're going to get rid of. We see a Ultra Ball and a Juniper from the Aggro Bike. I'm going to go with the Ultra Ball, and I put another Gengar into play, which is nice. I can attach the Water Energy to maybe Shaman. Shaman, of course, I didn't really mention his Sky Field or whatever attack. You mostly use Shaman for the ability, which is what we're generally using it for in this deck. But you can also use Shaman to attack. It does 30 damage, which is what we need. That's the magical number in this deck. You want to be doing 30 damage, then using Creepshow. And then it gets returned to your hand, so it's pretty safe to just attach that Water Energy to Shaman, and we can possibly use it to attack later in the game. Gengar does have free retreat, which is nice, so we could either, if we don't get Greninja into play next turn, we can always use Shaman to attack, or we can really do a lot of different things. But we definitely need to get that Greninja into play as soon as possible. So there we see a Sacred Sword for 90 damage. It's very rare to see less than 110 coming from a Keldeo Sacred Sword, but we saw it there. I'm going to attach the Second Energy to Deoxys here. I'm also going to discard the 2 Birches to draw myself probably a Ghastly. We discarded the other Haunter, but who knows, maybe we can Super Rod into play later in the game. And I'm just going to possibly drop it on the bench. I'm just going to retreat here, actually, go into my Deoxys, and then I'm going to Overdrive Smash for 30 damage. Good old Overdrive Smash. It also has a secondary effect where during its next turn it can do more damage. My opponent does have a Rock Guard on, which is why you see 60 damage coming onto my Deoxys there. Deoxys is going to die at the end of this turn, but I will easily trade my Deoxys for a knockout on Keldeo, which is, it's main attacker. 3 out of the 4 energy in play are on that Keldeo. It's really the only threat at this point of the game. Creepshow doesn't actually do any damage per se, so we're not actually gonna. The Rock Guard isn't gonna hurt us, which is nice. And we see an Ultra Ball, which is exactly what we needed from that Aggro Bike. Now we can go ahead and Ultra Ball both the N and the Ghastly, and we can get anything here. We can get a Deoxys. We don't really have to get anything if we don't want to, which is my deck has only 12 cards left in it. We're going to be drawing 5, so I go the route of choosing not to draw anything from the Ultra Ball, just kind of fail search, and I get the Greninja into play finally. Right, it's like 5 turns in the battle. We have a water energy in our hand. We don't need to use it. We're just going to save that. And I'm not going to use the battle compressors. We don't want to thin our deck out even more at this point, just because our deck is running pretty thin. We see another Ghastly. We see a Psychic Energy. So if our opponent does play another Stadium card, both of our Gengars have a energy on them, so we can attach another one as long as they don't try to get rid of it somehow. And we'll be hitting for, well, even then it has free retreat, so we could just go into the other one, unless they knock us out somehow. But nonetheless, oh, there we see a Crushing Hammer, and it gets Tails, so that doesn't really necessarily matter. Hopefully we don't stay asleep here. It doesn't even get heads on the flip. For whatever reason, I feel like my opponent always hits heads on a laser flip, and I always stay asleep, even though it's a 25% chance that you're going to stay asleep when they flip that laser coming into your turn. Alright, so we have the Gengar into play here. It is poison. I'm probably just going to retreat into the other one. But we're going to go ahead and Water Shuriken. And I'm going to actually choose to bring up I'm going to go ahead and Versus Seeker for the Lysandre and bring up the Tangrowth. Tangrowth I've never really seen before, but it's the biggest threat on the board at this point. Generally, you'd want to bring up an EX Pokemon and get 2 prizes and just hit only EXs, but when you're playing a deck where when they have only basic Pokemon in the field, or not necessarily basic, but non-EX Pokemon in the field, you generally want to hit the Pokemon that's the biggest threat, if you have the choice. We do get a Water Energy from our prizes, which is perfect. That's what we needed. This game would have taken a little bit longer to finish, but luckily enough, we do draw that Water Energy from our remaining prize cards. And we can just Water Shuriken and Creepshow. I love saying those two. Water Shuriken is probably my favorite ability in the game, and Creepshow is a pretty awesome name for an attack. And we can Water Shuriken onto this, what is this Pokemon? I never really use it. It's a Gen 3 Pokemon. Whatever it is, we knock it out, and we get ourselves, we didn't get our final prize, but didn't have any Pokemon left on the field. So there you go. There you have it. That is round 2. We're going to the finals. We did a little bit more damage that game just because we had to. We could get our things out right away. But we are moving on to the finals, and I will see everyone next time. Don't forget to leave this video a like if you did enjoy, and I'll see everyone in the finals. Take it easy, everyone. Peace.